and welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade, your home for video game reviews right here at AEW Games and All Elite Wrestling. I am Evil Uno, as always, with my good friend, the Chugs. How you doing, Chugs?
Uno, I'm doing great. Once again, it's been a great week of gaming. Hope the same has been for you. But yeah, I'm doing awesome, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. It has been a great game week for me because 2025 has been a big gaming year as of yet for me. Both you and I have said this before, but I put in a lot of time this week again. With actually a large list of video games to talk about as well. So first, let's get into your 5 games and let's get a little bit of an update on that.
Of course. So again, continuing the 5-game cycle, but actually the most exciting things I have to talk about, in addition to, of course, continuing The Witcher, Paper Mario, Dark Souls, Silent Hill 2 Remake, all amazing games. But I actually finished a game in my 5-game cycle. Ooh. And then I finished another game in my personal 5-game cycle. So I've mentioned this before, but I have 5 games that I cycle through on stream. I also have 5 games that I cycle through in my own personal downtime as well. I'm trying this strategy to finish and play as many games as humanly possible. But in regards to the 5-game cycle, I finally finished Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Yes.
The amazingly so underrated Metroidvania. My God, what an amazing game! Again, the final boss was pretty challenging. I was very, very happy though, Uno. I was able to beat the final boss within 3 tries.
Same here.
3 tries. So
same here. The first try was horrendous, though. I thought
oh, me too.
I thought. Quick spoiler on the end of this game, but it does this thing where there are multiple levels to this fight, and I just etched through the first one, just an inch from death, thinking like I did it, I finally did it, and not the case. I got destroyed quickly after, but I think my 3rd try as well is when I ended up completing it.
Yeah. Again, also minor spoilers for the final boss in Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. But Uno, like you had mentioned, I'm glad you said this. It's a 4-phase fight.
Oh yeah.
There are 4 phases to this final boss, and let me tell you, when I got to that 4th phase for the first time, which fortunately I was able to finish it, there's a point where Sargon, the main character, gets really, really powered up, but you can still take damage. Yes. I was so nervous and stressed and my hands were sweating that I was so afraid I was going to die. But I think it would be really difficult to die in that last phase when Sargon is so powerful. But I was panicking for a little bit until I realized, oh man, I got a lot of really cool moves and I'm hitting really hard. But again, just a beautiful story. This is certainly a game that I want to return to. There's still quite a bit of treasure and things like that I have not discovered that I would like to play more. Also, apparently the DLC is really incredible, so I do want to jump into that at some point. But for now, that will be replaced by Ender Magnolia, the sequel to Ender Lilies, which I'm beyond excited about. But again, I just wanted to reiterate, I used to have a top 3 of favorite Metroidvanias. I now have a top 4. Just to include Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Just an unbelievable game. So
honestly, good. You would talk it up a whole lot, and until I played it, I didn't fully understand. But it is one of the most fleshed out Metroidvania games, be it on a visual, be it honestly, the story and the audio design is incredible.
Yes.
I think the only thing that might be more visually stunning is Ori. But like visuals, background-wise, the characters, everything about it, the cutscenes, a very gorgeous game and an extremely challenging one too.
Yeah, seriously, so brilliant. Again, top to bottom with the music, the visuals, like you had said, the story's amazing, the voice acting's great. And again, I can't get over, I know I say it all the time, but the platforming is some of the best and most challenging platforming I've done in a game. It's just, oh my God. And then the combat as well, with all the different skills and abilities. I think it constantly kept me interested and constantly kept me on my toes as well. Like there was never a stream where I played it and I'm like, oh, this is a piece of cake. There's always some new challenge that they threw at you, and I thought they did it brilliantly. So yeah, very, very pumped. Again, my highest recommendation, if you like Metroidvanias, please play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I know we say it all the time, but seriously, it's a game you'll never forget. It's a game you're going to love, I promise. And speaking of games that we both love, Uno, I also finally, not quite, but 100% completed Astrobot.
Oh, hell yeah.
In the sense of I got all 308 bots. So I did everything that you can do with the exception of the void level and then also the speed run levels. But I've collected every single puzzle piece, every single bot. Dude, speaking of games that constantly continue to surprise you or blow you away, dude, that, again, minor spoilers, but the last level in Astrobot gave me like nostalgia tears.
Yes.
It was so beautiful. It was so
It's like
brilliant.
a journey through all of PlayStation's history and also the history of the game itself that you're playing. So as you're actively playing through like every level, essentially you're replaying all the levels, or at least the gimmicks, like the type of platforming used in every single level, but you're also simultaneously going through the history of PlayStation. It is Astrobot, the original game and the extra content they added as well is it's so polished. It's an insane level for a video game.
It really is. And again, every now and then, you know, I've gotten nostalgia tears playing like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Rebirth, and Astrobot did the exact same thing. Again, spoilers for the final level, but you know, the beginning section, it's like you're playing and you're fighting alongside the PlayStation 1 with bots who come for the PS1 era. Then it goes into PS2 and PS3, and it has the PSP and the Vita, everything you can imagine. The small little PS1 as well, which is really, really cool. But just such an amazing game. I if they continue to add content over and over again, I will forever return back to Astrobot. Yes. The game is just such a feel-good game and so well done. Also, the Grandmaster Challenge to get the final bot for me in the like main hub area where you need to get 300. So hard.
Yeah.
So tough.
It's a marathon.
There's been some challenge. Yeah. There's been some really challenging optional levels, especially the ones with the buttons like X, square, triangle, things like that. But I thought the Grandmaster Challenge was the hardest one. So tough, but so rewarding when you made it to the top and got that final bot. But yeah, Astrobot, again, two huge recommendations for everybody listening. And I know we've talked about it a lot before, but again, after finishing Astrobot, just a brilliant, my personal favorite 3D platformer of all time now. So good.
Yes. And that makes your tally 3 completed games this year as of yet.
Yes, you're
We're
right.
tied,
You're right.
3 and 3
games. Oh, nice. You got 2 on stream, 1 off stream. So again, January kind of off to a slow start. I made a bunch of progress, but I didn't really finish any games. February, we're cooking. We're cooking, baby. 3 games down.
What else?
What about you, Uno?
Oh, well, so we have a big game, but we'll both talk about at the end. And I'll tease it right now, but we will talk about Avowed that comes out. By the time this comes out, it'll be out in a few days, but if you're on early access, you might have been playing it over the weekend. We had even earlier access, thank you to Xbox and Obsidian, and we'll talk about that very shortly. But before that, I played a few other games. I've been a lot into idle games recently, which is if you played like phone games, it's those tap-out games, the games that you have to regularly come back, and it essentially accumulates a currency. You click on it, you empty the currency, you're able to invest in a building, and then you come back over time. So I've been playing Cookie Clicker, which is one of the biggest ones in the world, and that's been running in my background the whole time. I want to mention this because I think most of the gaming I did this week was just occasionally looking back at my laptop and clicking on a cookie and then just ignoring it for a few minutes and coming back. And I'm not even sure if it constitutes as video games. I guess it does, but I can't be the only one because I was so curious. I was like, Cookie Clicker is a 5-year-old game. I wonder how many people are playing it. And actively, the day I went to look at, there were 110,000 people still playing it actively every day.
Wow.
So there are people that are doing exactly like me, just running this program in the background just to see numbers go up. And I don't know why, but the dopamine I get from like, I did it, I finally completed a thing, I can now restart and start it from scratch. I don't know why. It's not even, you get nothing of quantity from it, nothing, no reward. But I enjoy it regardless. So I've been playing a lot of that. But on top of that, I've been playing some independent games. I played Cryptmaster, which is a very, very odd game. It's a monochromatic game, black and white, where essentially you have like a ghoul dungeon master at the front who talks directly to you, and it's a dungeon crawler where you can head in a direction with your keyboard, so be it straight, left, right, you rotate, you step forward, kind of like what's one of these original no, Hexen's first person. I'll think of one anyways, but you step forward, you go room to room, you walk around. But what's different about this one is as you walk through, for you to make an action, you have to type in the action. So it's kind of like a typing of the dead situation. So if I walk in front of a bug and I want to capture that bug and put it in my inventory, I type the name of the bug real fast and put it in my pocket. If I go in front of a chest, I type chest, and then the game master will look into the chest and give me a riddle as to what I think it is, and then I have to solve it. So it's like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is really neat. Like, the puzzles are riddles. It's about typing challenges. That's really neat. And then combat, the way it works is you're like in an underworld where you have your game master is actually a necromancer, and he reanimates you, and he reanimates 4 other people, and the 4 people are at the bottom of your bar, and they have like 50 different commands, but you don't know those commands. You are figuring them out as you go. So like when you start off, you understand that one of the commands is hit, and you're like, okay, this guy, if I write hit, will attack. But when he attacks, he then needs to replenish his stamina. How do I do that? So you can either type a bunch of gibberish, which will retype his stamina, or there's another one of our characters that is a support character. You can write yell, and he replenishes your stamina. So as you're writing hit, you hit yell, then you're into something else. Then you have like a 4th character that's like from a distance. So you write zap, that'll shoot a distance, and then you have a 2nd character that has like effects. You can poison, you can stab, to bleed, you can thief, you can loot, all that stuff. So as you're actively playing, you have to type commands to face off, and then as the character you're facing, they are also responding with an action, so you have to look at their action and maybe type block or guard or whatever to try and negate the stuff. It's been really neat.
That seems really cool.
I don't know if it's a roguelike or anything because I haven't died yet, which is surprising. I'm doing very, very well. I've had a 3-4 hour run and I haven't died. So I don't know if there's like a permadeath situation or any reanimation on that sense. But it's been very fun to explore. Visually, aesthetically, it's really neat and different. And it's just like a very unique mechanic you don't see a whole lot of. So if you get a chance, it's actually on sale on Steam this week. It came out in 2024. Cryptmaster, give that a shot. And then the final indie game I played before we talk about Avowed is a game that's been pretty big on the meme gaming world, where you'll see it a lot on Twitch, but for a very long time was super into Power Wash Simulator, which is a game about essentially holding a power washer and just stripping dirt slowly. And it's just like repetitive motions that eventually, like, it's calming. You're just doing
satisfying.
So satisfying. You're just slowly getting to your goal. This is a similar concept, but it's called A Game About Digging a Hole. And it's just, you go to your backyard, you have a shovel, and you dig a hole. You find minerals. You run out of because your shovel's like a automatic, so you have to fill up its battery. You go back, you sell those minerals, you update your shovel or your stuff, and you keep going. It eventually digs deeper and deeper, and you find secrets. You have to find a jetpack to get back out and stuff. But it's been... Ooh. I played 3 hours of literally digging a hole on stream this week. And I don't know what it is about me and repetitive nature in video games. It shouldn't be satisfying, but to me, I'm enjoying myself a whole lot. I don't know if I can advise it to others, but if you're into the idea of just playing a very short game, I think I'm an hour for completion, where all you do is dig a hole in your backyard... There's a game for you, and it's called quite literally A Game About Digging a Hole.
It's easy to remember. Easy name to remember.
Great PR team on that one for sure. Right. And then finally, so the big thing, and thank you to Xbox again and to Obsidian as well. Yes. Our good friends at Xbox handed out early access to Avowed, which we have been talking about for a few months. I'm a big Obsidian fan. Their last game, Pentiment, was one of my favorite games of the year. And I also got to have early access to that as well, so very thankful in general with our relationship with them. Avowed is a first person, but also can be third person. your choice. You can go to the options. I'm playing it with first person.
Me too.
It's a first-person game in the same way as their previous game, Outer Wilds, or very similar to what they had done previously with Fallout New Vegas. It's a very large open-world game, more fantasy-based, where you get to choose your weaponry. And we're both about, I would say, I'm maybe 7-8 hours in at this point.
Okay, and I'm close to 5. So I think you've probably made more progress. And I play very, very slow. As well.
And in this game too, it's dialogue and lore heavy, and so if you're really into that, and I played 8 hours, and midway through I was like, I think I need to stop reading because I'm just not retaining any of it. But you could play the first opening area probably for 15 hours if you're reading into everything. There are so many dialogue trees. There are so many books to read. What are you thinking as of yet before we get too deep into it?
Oh, sure. So just as far as my experience with the game, Uno, it's been awesome. I have and again, I do want to say again, a big thank you to Xbox and Obsidian once again. I know Uno had mentioned it, but this is a game I had been interested in checking out for a while. And Uno, actually, you were the one who kind of brought it to my attention. I know you had been talking about it for a while, and I'm like, I got to check this out. And it seemed right up my alley. Again, to me, the game absolutely has that Obsidian charm to it, which is really, really cool. I'm currently playing on PC. I'm playing on a 4080 Super. The game runs flawlessly. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I've had no hiccups whatsoever, which has been really, really nice. Again, like I said, the world is absolutely incredible. But the two things that I really appreciate about the game, and I've noticed this, number one, your decisions and the things that you say within the dialogue options really do make a huge difference in the results of a lot of these side quests and a lot of things that happen. Like, for example, very early on in the game, minor spoiler here for Avowed, but there's a section where you talk to this certain character. And based on the decisions that you make of what you say, it determines what rewards you get after the side quest, whether you pass or fail the side quest. And this is just either being encouraging to someone or not being encouraging. You think like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just a random option. No, it matters. It very, very much matters. So that part has been really, really fun. The other thing I really enjoy as well is, generally speaking, in games like this, I've always been someone who does mostly melee combat, even with first-person RPG fantasy games. I was like that with Skyrim. I, for some reason, that's always what I go to. In Avowed, it is so not only easy to transition to the other, at least the earlier spells and early melee builds and stuff like that. Not only is it so easy, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Like, I constantly, the thing I really love about Avowed is you can have 2 like permanent loadouts. So with the click of a button, I believe it's the Y button, you can switch from having a shield and a sword to having a wand with a spell book, and you're casting spells with one press of a button, which is really, really cool. So I've been having a blast playing with all the magic. The bow and arrow is really, really fun. And I will say, as far as the fun of the bow and arrow, I really appreciate that you don't run out of arrows. I love that you just have unlimited bow and arrows, which is amazing. But again, for me, in a game like this as well, another thing that I absolutely love about it, of course, is the exploration. I'm currently at a section where I'm in a pretty big area, and I'm trying to get to the capital, or like a major city. And of course, there's so many cool things to look around and explore. So I'm still out exploring. I haven't even gone to this big city yet, because I'm still so focused on exploring the open world. But I've encountered so many different enemy types, which is really cool. I've also encountered and gone to like a bandit camp that I was not ready to explore yet, so I got absolutely annihilated. I love when open world games do that, because around every corner, you're like, shoot, should I be here? I don't know if I should be here. And it adds this certain excitement to it, which is really, really fun. Also, tons of treasure to explore. Like, I found this little house on my way to the big city, and it was like by a river, and it looked like you couldn't get inside of it, but I'm like, maybe you can. And I started exploring and climbing this tree, and then you saw a hole in the shed, or in the house, and then you jump down and there's this big treasure chest with like a really cool armor piece, which is awesome. I also do like all of the bonuses that the armor gives you. You know, for example, you may get a pair of gloves which not only helps your defense, but for, like, most importantly, it helps your stamina recovery speed. Say it increases that by 10% or whatever. So those are some of the things that I really, really have enjoyed. Again, you can tell they put their heart and soul into the story and the lore of this game as well. I'm excited to discover it even more. I know this takes place within the Pillars of Eternity universe, and I personally have not had the chance to play the Pillars of Eternity games.
Same here.
I'm very
much.
I
was actually puzzled that, because you told me this afterwards. I was like, oh, it might make sense as to why they give us so much lore dumps, but the lore dumps seem like they've already been built somewhere. Like, we're supposed to sort of know about it. Because I had no idea this was attached to the Pillars of Eternity at all.
Yeah. But yeah, Uno, to me, I was pretty darn hyped about Avowed, and I am having a lot of fun with this. I think, without question, I'm going to pour hours and hours into this game. To me, it's a super fun fantasy RPG that I've been kind of in the mood to play for a while.
Yes.
And so far, Avowed is ticking all the boxes for me.
So I have a very similar to you, where the first thing that really amazed me, I am enjoying the lore. If I could be honest, I don't know the Pillars of Eternity, and so in a lot of ways, we'll get these lore dumps. And while it is fascinating, the acting is incredible, and like you can see the world building being built, there is so much that it's almost daunting. This is like what my issues with like trying to read the Game of Thrones books were, or if I hadn't read Lord of the Rings when I was a kid, I don't think I would have been able to grasp it, because there are so many names, there are so many factions. The island that you're on is an island that is separate from the main world. It's like an island where essentially a bunch of crooks and a bunch of people trying to escape tyranny or like the weight of government or anything went to this island. And so the way it's spread out is within the island there are 7 regions, and the regions are dictated by gods. And so based on who you interact with, they're a representative of a different god, and you are a godling. So essentially you are a direct descendant in a style of that god, and so you have powers of that god. And so like that alone is a lot of lore dump, but then it'll get you into deep stuff. You'll talk to a person, it'll tell you about a separate religion that you haven't met yet, and every layer of that. So a lot of the lore is a lot for me to perceive, and it seems like the type of game, if you're really into lore, you're going to be watching a bunch of videos. I think I will end up in the future for sure. But the thing that amazed me at first was that I also started as a shield and sword guy, as one of the first few objects I got. And then as I got more pieces of stuff, I started jumping around. The fact that you can switch between loadouts makes it so easy to have your usual base thing and then have a secondary one that you're just trying out. And so at first I was trying out the wand. You know, you could do spells with wand, and that's just throwing magic missiles. But your secondary on a wand is a book with spells. So on top of doing your wand will help the spells. You can then make a spell that sets them on fire, or hardens them with ice, or shocks them. And I was like, okay, this is fun, but this is not how I play these games. I don't like the range. But then as I was progressing and unlocking more spells, I started realizing I love the access to the spells. I just don't like the cheap wand. And then I realized as you progress, this game has guns in it too. So it's not even just a sword game. I was fighting with bows. I was fighting with an axe. I was fighting with a sword. I was fighting with my wand. At one point, I found a essential rifle where the loadout is slow. You shoot, you pull back a bullet, you shoot again, but it's so powerful. And I was like, oh, I hope I can get to a point where I can do spells and have this gun. And now I've reached that point where I found a handgun, and now I have my book of spells in one hand. So I'm shooting people with a gun, and my gun slows down time when I charge it. So I'm like getting extra aim on it. It shoots lightning bolts simultaneously. And then I can call upon spells. It's been, and I don't like long range stuff typically. I do like guns in games, but in these games I would typically be a sword guy. It's felt like I'm playing a brand new game that's never happened before, which is very cool because I feel like I'm going to keep experimenting with that secondary stuff And then in my 8 hours, I'm a little further than you, but like there's a lot of side content. There's a lot of side bosses. There's a lot of side missions. The way you interact with people, like you said, definitely has weight behind it. Like almost every conversation tree has 5 options when you're down afterwards, and it doesn't tell you that they will have lasting impressions. So within those 5, they're just incrementally changing what it is. So like, let's say on a pure simple basis, it would be like, perfect answer, everything is great between us. And then after that, it's like, well, I'm not sure, but it's a good idea. Then it's like, I think we should change ideas. This is terrible, and this one is like, go to hell, I want to fight you right now. Even going for the slightly less positive can piss a character off and change the whole dynamic of it. Because I died, went back to a scene, changed that option, and it changed the fight dramatically. Like I got into a fist fight with an ogre on one, got killed, and then I changed my when I reloaded my save, just changed what I said, and finally we're on the same page, and I'm capable of entering a village and not fight anyone. And I know ultimately I'll probably end up fighting him anyway, but the idea that I could do that and just have dialogue, and if you've loaded out your character with specific stats, you can either perceive things and fix it, or at the very base of your character you get to choose one of 4 origins, and those origins actually give you a whole branch of conversations that seem to really affect some situations. Because I'm a scholar, and anything that's related to the Adra, which is like the main story, which is you're like essentially following crystals, and the crystals is an otherworldly being that is talking to you. So it's like the god that you were a descendant of, but no one seems to understand who it's from. Whenever that happens, like all of that dump is super interesting for sure. But anyways, all to say, it's an incredible game. I don't want to get too into it. I don't want to get too much into the story. We're so early; it hasn't even come out. But I'm enjoying it. I'm 8-9 hours in, and I will not stop. I think I will complete this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if I retry it later on as well, just to do different loadouts over time.
Exactly, and to me as well, to see different outcomes. Because again, that's already happened with me. There was an early side quest where the result happened and I failed it, and I didn't want to fail the mission because I didn't even mean to. So I reloaded a save and then tried it, and I'm so glad I did. I got this like amazing item. So Uno, I'm completely with you. I will absolutely be finishing Avowed. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. If you're looking for a fantasy open world first person RPG, I think Avowed would be a good one to check out for sure.
Yeah, it has all of my support, and honestly, if you get the time and this is what you're itching for, this definitely is scratching that itch. And I do want to make one last comment. It has a companion system in it, very similar to the previous games. The companions help you in battle. They'll help you in conversation, but the fun thing about them is you don't have to accept their friendship at all. You can just pick and choose the companions as you go around. But if you end up becoming friends with them, you could develop that relationship. That'll unlock different paths of stories with them. But you can also damage that relationship based on how you interact with missions or interact with the other companions, or if you pick a companion that your companion doesn't get along with, then he'll start souring on you. There's a lot of very interesting stuff. We haven't seen the full picture of it yet, but I'm very, very excited to see what 30 hours into this game is going to look like, because I could start seeing the way the game is shifting towards my decisions, and I'm not far enough that it has insane repercussions, but I do have slight ones, and I'm very excited to see what Avowed has in the future for sure.
All right, me too.
That's all I played this week. Chugs, anything else on your list?
Nope, that's about it for me as well, Uno.
Well, you would think Avowed would be our big news piece this week, but it's not. We actually have a ton of news, including Sony's State of Play, which both of us Twitch streamed live, and we have a lot of thoughts about. We're going to talk about it right after this. And we're back. It's time for the news of the week, February. I hope you had a great Valentine's Day, and I hope you watched Sony's State of Play, unrelated, different days. but maybe that was your Valentine's Day plans. No judgment. Sony's PlayStation State of Play just dropped one in February, and they talked some first-party titles, but they also did a lot of third-party titles. We have a little report on this. I'm going to name some games that they talked about. Some of these games have already been talked about before, have already been announced, but we got further details. And then we have some that were completely fresh announcements, including Housemarque. House Marquee. I'm not quite sure which way. I think it's Housemarque. But either way, we'll talk about that. That's our last piece. It all started with, and this one being the game I think that launches the soonest, with the exception of a Shadow Drop on this show. Monster Hunter Wilds was our first trailer, our opening trailer. It comes out February 28th, so we're only a couple weeks away from playing it, and it is on PlayStation, but it's also on Xbox and PC. Trailer was mostly about content that is also going to be coming out later in the launch. So post-launch, there will be some content in the spring, including a monster that'll be part of a free update called Mitsutsune. I've never played a Monster Hunter World game. Have you?
So I have played a little bit of Monster Hunter Worlds. And again, when I say a little bit, I mean I was still in the tutorial area. Again, I had heard this before, and it is true. It's a lot to unpack and a lot to process, but it does seem incredibly cool. Then I jumped into Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch, and that was a little bit easier to jump into. But let me tell you, I've been meaning to play a Monster Hunter game properly for such a long time. Every time I see footage of a game, I think this looks amazing. Every time I talk to someone who's played a Monster Hunter game, says, Chugs, you would love it. You would absolutely love it. And Monster Hunter Wilds looks so freaking cool. I feel like I gotta jump into this one. Every single trailer they show with all these new monsters and all these new mechanics, the fights look so incredible, and the environments in Monster Hunter Wilds looks amazing. It looks like the variety of different monsters seems incredible. So, man, Uno, I think this is going to be the first Monster Hunter game I jump into properly.
I want to try this game. I tried the two previous ones for very short periods of time. My biggest issue with them was just the initial investment you need to do before you can get into the deep of the game, and also play the co-op with other people, because this game has multiplayer co-op. Part of the urge to play this is that me and multiple friends can attack one monster and be a crew and run around. But to get to that point, you needed to play like an initial 5-6 hours to get there, and that's always been what stopped me from playing these games, is that initial part. I'm hoping they figure out how to streamline it, because it's starting to feel like it's becoming larger and larger in America. And I hope Wilds is it, because, man, it looks cool. Every time they show a trailer, it looks so cool to play. It might be my first one, but I think I need to know how quickly you can get into it before I really commit.
Yeah.
Next up, this one really exciting for me. Shinobi Art of Vengeance is a new style of Shinobi game. That's a hack and slash game. You might remember it. I think it was on the Genesis era of video games. Well, the people that made Streets of Rage 4, which, by the way, great effing game, are making a hack and slash remake of Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and it looks incredible. It comes out August 29th on PS5, PS4, Xbox, and PC. Great trailer, great aesthetics. Yep. I'll definitely be playing this.
Oh, for sure. Again, the art style immediately popped out. It looks amazing. Again, to have Shinobi return is really, really exciting. And again, clearly Shinobi is in great hands. If it's from the creators of Streets of Rage 4, I think we're in for a really, really fun hack and slash game. This is another one this one feels like Steam Deck written all over it to me.
Oh, yes.
Oh man, I can't wait.
This might be a perfect travel game now that you mention it. I never even considered that. That's the way to go for sure. This one was actually maybe my second big surprise of this, because I had no idea this was coming. We got a new Digimon game coming out.
Yes.
Which is funny, because I think last week we were literally talking about, does anyone play Digimon? Because I was such a big Digimon kid compared to Pokemon. Well, they're making a new one, Digimon Story Time Stranger. It's by Bandai. It looks cool as hell. It's got the original Digimon roster, not the humans, but like the original Mons themselves. It comes out sometime in 2025 for PS5, maybe exclusively too, which very surprising. There is no notice of it coming anywhere else. I like Digimon. I didn't think it was relevant. After this, it made me think like how important is this to people? But it would seem Digimon's still living because they had an anime last year. A couple years ago, they had a video game. It's not Pokemon levels, but it's still alive. And this will get me back on the train for sure.
Clearly. Yeah. This is really exciting. It seemed like a similar art style to like the modern Pokemon games in that sense. So then I immediately thought, I wonder if this Digimon game is going to be open world.
Ooh, that's what it looks like, right?
Curious. It does. It looks like an open world Digimon game, but again, it's just the first trailer that we saw. But I'm definitely interested in this, and it's got to be exciting for Digimon fans to get like a brand new game that looks like it's going to be pretty big. So
yeah, I'm very excited for it, especially if it's an open world game, because I think that's the way you want to explore that world for sure.
Yeah.
We quickly saw a Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza montage, including some footage. That game is available the 21st of February, so a week from now. But just right now, you can actually, they announced there's a demo for the game available starting February 13th. So it is available the second you hear this podcast. Go check it out. But that also came in with, they are now, this is always impressive. Dave the Diver, small indie game, maybe a triple I game, which is like the between indie and a double A game at this point. They just got off a huge DLC for Godzilla, which is an insane grab for a small game. Well, now they just announced that they're making an Ichiban's or a Like a Pirate DLC. It will drop in April, and essentially the characters are in it. There's an extra mode in it. The fact that Dave the Diver has so much retainership with all these sponsors is very, very impressive. Very excited to jump into more Dave the Diver, especially with the Like a Dragon stuff.
Seriously, it's so cool to see that, because again, Dave the Diver just exploded. That's still a game that I have not played yet, but like you said, it's so cool that they keep getting to work with all these great games, all these great companies. So good for Dave the Diver. It looks sweet too.
Yeah, it looks really good. You should definitely give it a try.
I know. I need to.
So there's 3 games on this list that when I watched it live, I was like, I need to know what Chugs' reaction to this is. First one, we played a little bit of this, but now it seems that they're making a sequel. Splitgate 2 is coming to PS5. That's the first-person shooter game that feels like Halo, but has portals that you can jump in, and the portal mechanic is really freaking cool. This is a sequel to that game mode. It was on Xbox, I think exclusively on Xbox and PC.
Yes.
This new Splitgate 2, the alpha will begin on the 27th of February with no initial launch date planned quite yet, but it will be available on PS5 alpha 27th of February, and it looks really cool. I'll be playing it. This was one of the games I loved jumping into on my Xbox for sure.
Yes. The original Splitgate was so much fun, with such a cool, original, creative idea with using the portals. And like you said, the gunplay feels amazing. I remember being concerned before I played Splitgate when I heard that you could use the portals and obviously shoot your opponent. And I'm like, I don't know if my brain's going to be able to focus on both things. The entry level of using portals and then shooting is very easy to pick up. Obviously, to master it, that's a whole different ball game, but that's part of what makes it so much fun. But yeah, more Splitgate is an absolute win for me. If you've not checked out Splitgate, I think you would love it. Again, you're literally teleporting through portals that you create yourself while trying to take out the enemy team. Splitgate 2 is going to rule, dude. I know it. It's going to rule.
And the thing is, like, more people, whatever portals you create, they can jump into as well, and they create portals as well. It leads to some pretty insane gameplay, and it's very fast moving. It's well worth playing if you haven't before. And now, if you haven't played it, you can always wait. You're only a few weeks away from the sequel coming out. It's very, very cool. Another sequel to talk about. This one we knew was coming out, but we finally saw some footage, and we got some big announcements for it. Borderlands 4 is here. Both of the Randys got to talk about it. We saw a big trailer, and the big piece of news of it was two things. They announced a release date. That's the 23rd of September, so not that far away from now, about 7-8 months away from now for that release. But the thing they really announced that I thought was incredible is it's getting its own state of play. They said they're going to do a 30-minute state of play strictly on Borderlands 4, which is kind of crazy, unheard of, because it's a third-party game. It's on all consoles as far as I know. Mm-hmm. So why... The thing that I'm surprised is what money was thrown around for Sony to get an exclusively based... Like an exclusive state of play based on this game. I'm wondering if... Did the Randys Gearbox pay for this, or does Sony have something on this game that we're unaware that will be announced soon? Very interested to find out. And it looks stunning. Of course, it looks great.
That's true. Yeah, that is a good question. And the other thing that made me so excited about the exclusive state of play, to me, like you said, a 30-minute one, they clearly have a lot of content they want to show off. Yeah. That 30 minutes of just Borderlands 4 is going to be packed with probably a bunch of new weapons, different combat abilities, maybe some more about the levels and the world that we're going to be exploring. Again, Borderlands 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I love the Borderlands franchise. Even the little trailer that we saw, again, it looks like more of the same, and that's not a bad thing. Looks like there's a ton of different weapons, tons of different abilities to use. I will absolutely day one be playing Borderlands 4 for sure. It looks sweet. And again, it made me even more excited, not only knowing that we have the release date, but that we are going to get just a strictly Borderlands 4 state of play that I will absolutely be watching. Let's go.
Here's some. I'm gonna fire off some quick ones here. First off, the makers of It Takes Two are making a brand new co-op game. This one's a sci-fi co-op adventure called Split Fiction. It looks way more like their No Way Out game, where you seem to be playing more of a, I wouldn't say a movie. You're definitely playing, but you are two characters in a scene rather than It Takes Two was a lot of mini games. This one seems to be like you're following a story of two characters that happens to have puzzles. That comes out in March, which is very surprising. It's very, very soon. And then another quick one, the people from Until Dawn and The Quarry, that's the movie video games that you might have played before. Until Dawn is just releasing a movie to the actual public. Sony is releasing a Sony Pictures movie about the video game movie. They are making a brand new game. This one is called Directive 8020. It seems to be a space madness movie like Event Horizon or so on. That seems to be releasing in October, just in time for Halloween. Here's another big one. I don't know if you were as interested in this one as I was, but a gameplay trailer dropped for The Midnight Walk, which was a first-person claymation video game, which looks stunning. The frame rate on it is reduced so that it makes it look even more claymation style. When they mentioned it beforehand, I assumed it was going to be a third-person game because I've never seen a claymation game be in first person.
Yeah.
And aesthetically, this looks incredible. This comes out in May on PC, PS5, but also on PSVR 2, which should be very interesting to see.
Just a quick note. Again, if your game has claymation in it, I'm going to want to check it out.
Same.
It's maybe my favorite art style. I love it so much.
Stop motion and claymation, and obviously you have to do both. You have to do stop motion filming for claymation. Is insane. I'm fascinated with it in TV. I'm fascinated in movies, and the fact that it's bled over to video games. If you have it in there, you have my interest. Yeah. Same with like the Yarn games. I was very interested in that, or the papercraft games like Tearaway. I was super into that too.
Yes, like the Paper Mario art style, or the Unravel. Do you remember that Xbox game Unraveled?
I love that game.
Oh, so good.
That game was awesome. Other quick fire ones. The Warriors series, Dynasty Warriors, came out with a brand new video game called Warriors Abyss. It's a roguelike game So it is the Warriors world. It's you versus a multitude of enemies, but it's isometric. It's seen from on top, and it's roguelike. So if you die, you could choose another character. They have different loadouts. They even, I think, within it said that there's 180,000 loadouts, which is an insane amount. But I assume based on what you can pick, it could go all the way out to 180,000 variations. But the thing that was so exciting about this is, and we love this here on All Elite Arcade, it was a shadow drop. They told you about the game, and right away they're like, go download it now. I haven't, but it is on my list to do this week. Very excited to jump into that. Warriors Abyss available everywhere right now. We also got to hear about Onimusha. We talked about it last week about how they were going to do a remaster. Well, they showed the PS2 remastered of Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny. New controls, new HD graphics. That comes out the 23rd of May. Looks great. I've never played an Onimusha game, but it's a perfect time to jump in.
Me either. Exactly. This is going to be the time I'm going to jump in. I've been told a million times that Onimusha is right up both of our alleys. So I think we both got to check this one out.
And that was also paired off with they're making a brand new Onimusha game in 2026. Yes. This one, they dropped their first trailer showing off the protagonist. It was mostly a cinematic trailer, but further enforcing that, yes, I am excited to play this. Yes, I will play the remaster so that I have an understanding of what I'm jumping into. Yeah. We saw more Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, and we finally got a release date. They claim they've added content to this, including it seems that it has more Ape Escape stuff in it. It looks stunning. The trailer just reminded me Metal Gear Solid is one of the best series of all time. I constantly forget about it, even though it's constantly brought up as one of the best. But Metal Gear Solid 3's remaster or remake is called Triangle Snake Eater. That comes out August 28th in 2025. Day one for me.
And absolutely day one for me. Also, again, not to jump ahead because I'm so excited to jump into this remake of Snake Eater, but I'm hoping this means, since Snake Eater is like the prequel to the Metal Gear series, I hope this means we're getting remakes of all of them. I love the Metal Gear games, dude.
I wouldn't be surprised. That or like a relaunch of the series, but that happens to be the first game again. Like, it's time. I feel like we're far away from Kojima, and I feel everyone kind of understands what they can do with the series without pissing people off.
Yes.
Let's get back into it. Let's get back into the Metal Gear series.
Yeah, let's go.
This was my other one where I was like, okay, I need to know what Chugs' thoughts about this. Lives of P Overture DLC was announced, and it looks cool as hell. It comes out in summer 2025. This seems to be more in like a snow world more than anything. It seems to be very much like a frigid landscape. They showed a lot of bosses. It looks stunning. I didn't play a lot of Lies of P, so maybe you caught on to more stuff than I did, but it does look very cool.
Man, so again, Lies of P, one of my favorite games I've played in the past few years. Just an unbelievable Souls-like game. Just so good, so original in so many different ways as well. But what made me so stoked about this trailer was they packed so much stuff. This trailer was so brilliant because they packed so much stuff that by the end, Uno, I knew that DLC was coming out. But by the end, I'm like, is this a sequel?
I thought it was.
They showed so much stuff where they showed so much story content, so many new weapons, so many new bosses, so many new areas, and it just kept coming where I'm like, wait, maybe we're not getting a DLC. Maybe we're getting a second game. So the fact that this is a DLC is just incredible. This for sure is a day one for me. Lies of P is so good, and it looks like we're going to get a lot more of the same with more Lies of P with this DLC. So yes, this, as far as the entire showcase, there were a lot of things that I was really excited about. This was number one for me. The Lies of P DLC was the most hyped. Yeah, easily.
So I'm actually going to jump in my top three very shortly, but that was one of the ones Lies of P, I didn't get a ton of time into, but watching this trailer made me realize maybe I should go back and finish this before summer because it looks stunning and it looks right up my alley. I can't believe I haven't given it more time. This one's out of left field one, but this one, I don't know why, but it really, I thought was fascinating. It was called Dreams of Another. And what it was a surrealistic shooter where you have to shoot your environment. Everything is made out of small pixels, and you have to shoot your environment for it to explode and reconstruct into objects in your environment. And essentially you are walking, or you're doing like a walking sim, but instead of just walking to interact with things, you shoot and explode those things so that it creates a scene, and then the scene plays in front of you. It looked very cool, very different, and the thing that made me more interested in it was that it wasn't only on PS5, but it's releasing on VR as well. And I feel like it'll be so stunning to look at. That's called Dreams of Another. It comes out sometime this year in 2025. And then this one was my biggest surprise because I didn't think I'd be so excited for it. Days Gone Remastered.
Yeah.
So I liked Days Gone. I've talked about it before. I think it gets a lot of flack as not a super interesting game. While I don't agree that the love story between the main characters is that fascinating, I do love the motorcycle. I do love the zombie stuff. There's a lot in there. But what big thing about the video game is that when they initially talked about it, they talked about hordes and hordes of zombies. And when they showed it to you, there were 300 zombies running after you. By the time the game came out, I think, unfortunately, the console could not run that many up there. And so you would get maybe 20 zombies running after you, which is fine, but it just never had that same appeal. In this remaster, you get new content, a speedrunning mode, new graphics, a new DLC that will be released on PC because that wasn't released on PC initially. And they've added a horde mode where it has the 200 plus zombies attacking you. Seeing that again, it made me realize this is what I wanted from this game. And if you're just giving me a minimalistic version of that, and just a mode strictly about how many zombies can be on screen, you have my attention. Super excited for Days Gone Remastered. That comes out in April.
Yeah, which so soon. And again, Uno, I'm with you. I really did enjoy Days Gone. So good. But again, I enjoyed the story, the open world, all that stuff. The main character I really liked. But the highlight for me is that horde mode. So the fact that we're going to be able to get that properly now with so many zombies, it's going to be so sick. So cool they're remastering this.
They showed a ton of other stuff. We're unfortunately not going to talk to every single one of them, but they had a ton of cool little indie games. Blueprints looks cool. They had a little octopus game that looks great. But the big piece at the end was from a first-party studio. That's Housemarque. They made Returnal. They've made a lot of bullet hell games or classic kind of like arcade-style 360 shooters. They are now making a new one in the same sci-fi vibes as Returnal. This one is called Saros, and it's about the sun dying, and as it's dying, monsters are raising from the ground. It will be on PS5 and also have enhanced features for PS5 Pro. It did not show a lot of gameplay, but they did say they will be bringing back more information later this year. But it is very exciting to know that Housemarque is working on something. And I loved Returnal, so I'm very excited for this. This was my favorite. This was my most excited I was about the whole thing.
Oh, awesome! Hey, Returnal is still on my backlog, Uno. It's embarrassing. I still have not played it, but I know how many people love this game.
Yes,
love Returnal. So yeah, I'm equally as hyped for this. It looks really cool.
And that's it. If you want to go and check out the Sony State of Play, you can. It's on YouTube. Go check it out right now. A lot of cool stuff. Very excited for, I believe, in the spring there will be a Borderlands one, and I'm sure we will get one in summer as well, because everyone will be dropping a Direct or a State of Play in summer.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the best times for sure. It's one of our podcasts, and I think we have to talk about Elden Ring, because Elden Ring Night Rain has a launch date and a price. It will cost $40. That's the roguelike co-op spin-off, and it will come out May 30th. It will be available on PS5, Xbox, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So it is also retroactive, which is very, very surprising. But only at a price of $40, which I think is very interesting. You would think that means the game is not so large, but I, in fact, will not believe that. From Software is going to give us a huge world, I'm sure.
Right.
And there's a ton of collectors. There's a standalone helmet collectible. There's one that has a figurine from one of the characters in there, a Nightfarer, and a physical art book. All of that stuff has been announced simultaneously. And they did say there will be DLC in the future as well, but no official release window was in there. In the DLC, there'll be more Nightfarers, which I believe is the characters you play as, and additional biomes and bosses that will come out in the future. We saw some early hands-on impressions during the time that this was launched. So there was an event, I guess, privately. People were able of talking about it. But from most people said it's an unexpected From Software experiment. It is very weird, but in a good way. So very, very interested to see all about the co-op Elden Ring. You're going to be playing this, right?
Oh, 1,000%. And I'm probably going to get the if I can, I'm going to get the collector's edition. I love Elden Ring dearly. And I think this is such a cool new concept. I did get the chance to watch some footage as these like pre-builds are kind of being spread out to some content creators, and seeing kind of what this game is going to be and how it's going to play out. Dude, it looks so fun, and it looks incredibly intricate. Like, there's so many different levels to, like, using certain moves or getting certain weapons. It seems like, I mean, it's like an Elden Ring roguelike. But it's, man, it looks super fun. I will absolutely be playing this, not only because it's more Elden Ring, but again, the addition of, like, Dark Souls bosses, and just I could see the addictive nature of, like, wanting to go out and try to find the best possible route to be prepared for a certain boss, but also the excitement and like little expectation of enemies randomly showing up. For example, I saw footage of Morgott randomly showing up for one person and not for someone else who was streaming it. So yeah, Night Rain looks really fun, really fun.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see Elden Ring take the roguelike mechanics, because we're so used to exploring a land and then falling upon a boss, but now knowing that the bosses can be anything at any time, your paths can differ, and then how do you maximize that each run? I also would like to know how quick each run is. If they're sub an hour, I think that's the perfect time. You know. Well,
apparently each level before you get to the first boss is 15 minutes. So apparently
perfect.
It's like 15 minutes of running around, then you fight a boss. Then the next level starts where it's 15 minutes boss, 15 minutes boss, and then it's over if you do it 3 times.
Okay, so that's about an hour. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That seems like the perfect length of what I would want in a roguelike, especially if you're going to be co-oping it, because you're only going to be jumping in for a few runs anyways. That's the way to do it for sure.
Right.
So yeah, very excited for May, which is, man, we're getting a lot of stuff in the next 4 or 5 months.
Much.
It's my calendar is filling up. I don't know how the hell we're going to play all this stuff.
Right.
And then a final piece of news, not great news, but unfortunately I think we should talk about it. Crytek, the people that make Crysis used to be the benchmark for graphics on PC. When a Crysis game came out, you knew, okay, this has the advanced lighting, this has the advanced reflections, this has top frame rate, this is as good as my computer can run a video game. There is no stronger game. Well, they were working on Crysis 4, but unfortunately, it would seem Crysis 4 is being put on hiatus because Crytek has laid off 15% of their workforce. This comes out after a bunch of market changes. Obviously, the video game market is in a kind of a plummet right now. You're seeing a lot of people being released from their contracts. You're seeing a lot of the workforce being reduced. There's the taxation stuff going on right now that's going to affect it tremendously. So, unfortunately, a lot of people are being affected by it, including Crytek. The Crytek, or the recent game, was the Hunt game, Hunt Showdown 1896. And they were also in short support for their eventual game, which is going to be Crysis 4. Right now, my understanding is that they will just keep running Hunt a Showdown and investing in that, but Crysis, which is going to be a huge, large endeavor, they just can't see them being capable of doing and fulfilling what they had storyboarded, and so that is being put on hiatus for a later time when hopefully more funds are made available to Crytek. Bad news, not great. But unfortunately, I think we're going to hear a lot more of these kinds of news because there's a pattern in the world of video games, and I feel we're about to hit that pattern, and a lot of people will slowly. I think a lot of the large studios are starting to reduce in size, which is very unfortunate.
It is. I mean, we can hope that's not the case, but I totally see what you mean as far as the trend that's been going on. So yeah, super unfortunate.
Yeah, and the one thing that will keep these people alive is that they make CryEngine, and CryEngine is used by other video games because they're known for how polished their graphics are, and so a lot of games will end up using CryEngine. So there is, even if they don't have a large project to be determined, there is a large source of income coming in. So there is still a future maybe where Crysis 4 can come out, but at the time it will be postponed. That is it for the news this week. There's been other news. If you have a news piece you think we should have tackled, let us know in the comments down below, youtube.com/AEW Games for our video. I do know there was some Overwatch 2 stuff and overalls there. Neither of us are big on Overwatch and couldn't really give it the proper commentary. But if you have another news piece that you think we should talk about in the next week's, do let us know down below, youtube.com/AEW Games. We're about to hit our favorite segment of the show. That's right, Chugs. And it happens right after this. And we're back. It's time for the community mailbag, the arcade mailbag, brought to you by our friends at Upper Deck. Visit Upper Deck at upperdeck.com. Collect your favorite wrestlers in 2024's Upper Deck AEW or AEW's Allure 2025 and start your trading card collections today. Unwrap autographs, memorabilia, or premium tech inserts. Chugs, you got a nice Allure pack today?
I sure do. I have a nice Allure pack here. And here we go. We got Saraya.
Ooh. These are our favorites, by the way. They are flashy. Kyle with the nice hair. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that hair.
More great hair. Yeah. This one has a color background.
It does.
Alvaro has his own card. Hell yeah.
Look at that.
That is a great Shibata card.
Seriously, the Allure packs are absolutely my favorite.
Yeah, these look incredible. There's Cope. There's our boy
Hook. I love the way these look. It's like getting a bunch of shinies. Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal, yeah. You would get one of these in a pack, and you would go insane. Now every single one looks like that.
The whole pack is that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Get your Allure pack or all previous packs or any pack of sports memorabilia. You can find it all at upperdeck.com. Thanks again to Upper Deck for sponsoring this segment. We've got 3 questions today. If you want your questions read, go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. Send it our way. We love answering your questions. It is by far our favorite thing. Chugs, lead on with question number 1.
I'm going to kick things off. And this first question is from Rainmaker, who is a member of the Chugs Army. Rainmaker, thank you very, very much for the question. Appreciate it, man. And Rainmaker says, hey, Chugs and Uno. So we've all seen the Switch 2 reveal, and we know Mario Kart 9 is on the way. But with Mario Kart 8 being such a juggernaut of a game, with so many tracks and seemingly everything you could ever want, what do you think Mario Kart 9 has to do to top it and differentiate itself? Rainmaker, amazing question. I think, first of all, from the trailer they showed where they're talking about maybe doing 24 players on a track at one time, that is something cool and different that I think is going to definitely be received very positively within Mario Kart. But interestingly enough, I think Mario Kart 8, or like you had said, actually Mario Kart in general is truly such a juggernaut that if all they do is add more characters and add more tracks, I seriously do believe people will still buy this and play it to death. The Mario Kart formula is so well done that it is really hard for me to imagine them diverting very far from the formula of Mario Kart 8. I really do imagine that Mario Kart 9 is going to be Mario Kart 8 just bigger and better in ways that it normally is Mario Kart. But I do think new modes like the 24 players on the track at the same time is really cool. Maybe a cool battle mode, or just I'm curious to see what else they do. I'm sure Nintendo will try to experiment with some different stuff. But at the same time, yeah, Mario Kart is Mario Kart, I think.
I don't think they need to change much either. I think you're right. More Mario Kart will do it. But if I were to make a bold claim, I think they need to do what they did with Smash Brothers and open this up to other third-party developers. You know, if they were like, hey, you get all, because they're starting to exhaust all Nintendo characters at this point. Almost every major Nintendo character has been unveiled as a previous Mario Kart character. If you said, hey, all of these guys are here, also we added 24 people, Parappa the Rapper's in this, Cloud's in this, you could be Cheeto, Chester Cheetah, you know, like whatever it is, open it up to other things, and I feel like you can get a lot out of that if, like, hey, DLC 1 is 4 characters and it has characters you would never anticipate in a video game of Nintendo's size. That's what happened with Smash Bros. When Smash Bros started talking about characters that weren't in the Nintendo universe, like Solid Snake being in there, like Pac-Man, that stuff to me was the most exciting. Sonic's being in those games, Cloud being in those games, that's what I kind of want to see. But honestly, if you just told me like, hey, there's just 24 new Nintendo characters, that's fine too. Give me all the Kongs, give me Ness, give me, you know, there's a lot of stuff you could still delve into, but I feel like if you want to make a big splash, open it up to your third-party connections. I think there's a lot that could be done there.
That'd be cool. Rainmaker, thank you very much for the question.
Yes, great question, Rainmaker. Our next question is from Eddie. Eddie says, hey, Chugs and Uno. I live with 4 other gamers, including my fiance. We tend to play our own games, but we love to find games for the entire house to enjoy. Whether that's a 4-player couch co-op game or passing controllers back and forth. In recent, our house games have included Balatro, which they have over 110 hours passing controllers back and forth. Vampire Survivors, that has that co-op mode. Mario Party, and Helldivers. We are all mid to late 20s. Do you have a top 3 for 4-player co-op games or games that you pass controllers that could possibly be our new house game addiction for us? Thank you, and hope to run into you guys at the Arizona AEW date coming up. Thank you, Eddie. Chugs, do you have some suggestions? I have one. My first one would be Streets of Rage 4.
I was going to say that.
We can talk about it right now. An incredible 4-player hack and slash game, maybe the best to come out in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
There are a few other ones, but like that's the most polished one and one that I revisited so many times. I would definitely suggest that for sure.
Yeah. That one is a great suggestion. Another one I was thinking of too would be TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Is a super fun side-scrolling beat 'em up as well. But as far as what really has me interested is the taking turns portion of this question, because I love doing that. I for some reason in my brain didn't realize that so many people still do that because it is so fun. But for example, just the other day, me and my brother took turns playing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. I would play one level and he would play the next, and we had such a great time. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is another amazing game to take turns with and just pass the controller back and forth. And then another one, I know we've talked about it a lot. I talked about it at the top of this show. Astrobot, baby.
Yes.
Astrobot because Astrobot is as much fun to play as it is to watch. It's such a great pass the controller couch co-op game. So those are some suggestions for me as far as passing the controller. I know I had one side-scrolling beat 'em up in there too, in addition to what Uno said. But yeah, tons of great options.
I definitely have one that can be both passing the controller within the house, but also it has online leaderboards. And this is one that I got addicted to. But in 2022, an indie game called Neon White came out, and it's it's speedrunning first-person shooters, but you can only use currency with cards that you acquire. So you have to run and acquire a card to either use a dash or shoot and complete a world. I got so addicted to these little speedrunning levels that I never do this. I would actually compete with my friends in the rankings of each level. That's an incredible fun one. If you haven't played that game, there's so many levels in there, and you could definitely try and all fight for the best score. And they're bite sized, so you could keep switching it around. And then of course we talked about this in the State of Play, but Until Dawn, The Quarry, and all of those Supermassive games are incredible to play at multiplayers. They're great experiences. You won't switch around a controller, but you're all gonna get to vote together. It's a great 4-player experience for sure.
Uno, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I also want to suggest As Dusk Falls is another great
great one for
work
sure.
Together. Yeah. But yeah, Eddie, thank you very much for the question. Yeah. I love it.
Last question here is from Controller41. Get at it. What you got?
Yes. Controller for One says, you often talk about finishing games, but I expect there are plenty of games you have started and not finished. When do you know it's time to give up on a game and move on to something else because you aren't going to finish it? Ooh. Controller One, great question. So for me, again, I get a lot of joy out of a ton of different video games, a ton of different genres and things like that. And generally, or lately, I've been very lucky in that I've not encountered this problem. But generally speaking, I know this is such a broad answer, but if I'm not having fun and I notice that my mind is kind of going elsewhere and not really focused on the game, then I know maybe the game is not for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's normally it. But again, lately I've just been playing every game I've played. I've just enjoyed so much. But yeah, pretty much if I don't feel like the game has my undivided attention and I'm like not having a good time, then obviously I know it's time to move on from that game. But again, fortunately, there's so many great ones out there.
So I move away from games pretty often. I have a very hard issue with I'll play a game, but I'll never want to complete the main story because I want to complete all the side stuff. And then what ends up happening is I get exhausted with the pattern of playing the game, and I never end up completing my games. I've been trying to change that pattern, so this year I've been trying to complete my games and specify on the main patterns more so than the side quests and stuff. But usually what happens to me is two things will make me drop off a game and decide I don't complete it. One, a similar game is coming out, and that game I'm more fascinated with. And so if you just happen to be another open world game that I prefer and you come out while I'm actively playing a game, chances are I'll jump to that one. So like if I was, for example, we're playing Avowed. If I was playing a first person action game like that, with open world dialogue and fantasy settings, and then Avowed came out, I would probably stop playing the previous game and end up playing Avowed. For example, I'm going to complete The Witcher, but The Witcher feels a lot like the fantasy world of Avowed, so I put a rest on Witcher for a couple weeks so I could get Avowed in leading into this. But the exception being, I will complete The Witcher because I really want to.
You gotta.
And then the other thing is, I think if your pattern is repetitive and it is just extended further and further and further and further, a lot of like open world games are like this. I think the Assassin's Creed games are like this a lot. If I feel like I'm doing the same thing so often, but I finally have reached a point where just doing it has no reward to it, I'm just going through the motions. Once I feel like I'm going through the motions, I just stop playing. I move on to something else. There are so many games out there, and most of the times I've given that game at least 10 hours. If I've gotten 10 hours of enjoyment, that's plenty for me. If I don't feel compelled to finish a game, I just won't do it.
Yeah. Controller for One, great question. All three great questions. Thank you all very much for sending in your questions.
As always, if you want your questions answered, just go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. Myself and the Chugs love answering your questions. Keep them coming. It's our favorite segment of the show. That's it for All Elite Arcade for this week. Every Monday you can listen to our episode. Every Monday you can watch our video at youtube.com/AEW Games. But then if you're not on one of those days, there's all kinds of other stuff you can do. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays. There's a Twitch stream, twitch.tv/AEW Games with MXM every single week. Also on Thursday, MXM unveils their weekly Bro Namiko. That's them and a guest every single week playing a video game in our backstage. Do check that out on our channel. But that's not all. Both myself and the Chugs are on Twitch. You can find me at twitch.tv/evilknow. Chugs, where can they find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/thechugs.
That's right. The Chugs is playing this 5-game cycle, and I've been jumping into a bunch of weird indie games, so do check us out if you get the chance. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that follow, hit that like, hit that subscription. We appreciate you all for the constant support that you give us every single week, and we will see you next week, next Monday, for another episode of All Elite Arcade. Bye-bye.